Welcome back to part 2 of Jay's story, and what a story. Let's enjoy. Thank you to our sponsors, Little Voices. Are you a teacher with a passion for drama, music and performance, or feeling stuck in the classroom? Little Voices gives you the chance to step into a role where you can truly inspire young minds through the arts. This is a company I know well and admire. They're passionate about child development, highly rated and genuinely transformative. With small group teaching, a focus on confidence and creativity, with the opportunity to guide children through Lambda qualifications, you can make a real impact. Plus, with the support of a nationwide franchise network behind you, you can run your own successful business, doing what you love while teaching in a way that truly fits your life. Hello, and welcome to the Pit Pony Podcast with myself, Sharon Corley,
and me, Sarah Dunwood,
in which we talk to teachers from all walks of life who exited the classroom from what they thought was a job for life and thrived on the other side of teaching. Coming up in this episode...
So I'm almost in a bit of a trap, even though I'm still not at the point where I'm not hating it. I love working with the kids still, but I just know I've realised I'm not in this for the long run anymore. I'm just not. But trapped. And then I discovered the Life After Teaching group. I've just worked so hard and I'm still struggling to even eat. But anyway, so Sarah's gone to Burnham. The Dubai thing's kind of there, but Sarah doesn't want to leave her family, which is right. And then I got a message saying, I've driven around Somerset with my sister, found this lovely place. I think we should live here. It's lovely. So I'm like, why not? Like, I don't really want to leave this school. I love it. And they're pushing me because they know that I want to keep progressing. But like financially, what choice have we got? And then so she's gone ahead, looked around. She said, right, I found somewhere we can rent. I think it was like $750 a month. So already £500 less. Like, what do you think? So I was like, gutted, because I loved this job. Gutted. I loved the school. But I was like, well, okay, we'll do it. So I started looking at roles in this area now in Somerset. Got an interview, and I was travelling up. Bear in mind, I was working Monday to Friday. Friday, I was leaving school, getting on a train, coming to Somerset. Sunday afternoon, I was going back home. So I was doing that for a few weeks, back and forth, because obviously I still had to go to work. Come and done the interview. They offered me the job that evening. So I was like, yeah, take it, 100% take it. Without knowing pay scales are different where you are in England. I didn't know. So I got back to my school on whenever it was the next day, said it to my, well, she wasn't at that time, but she was my NQT. I think they were mentors. You had your classroom mentor, then is it like a manager? And again, another female, really good. And she was like, so they've offered to match your pay scale, and this was M2, whatever it was by then. And I was like, yeah, they're going to match it. She was like, but that's a lot less there. Did you not ask? I was like, what do you mean it's less? She said, because you're going out of London, it's less. So I was like, I've already accepted it. She was like, I'll help you write an email to them. You've just got to be honest, basically. So I was honest, said, listen, I don't think I can accept because financially, just explained everything. I was really honest. And then they come back to me and was like, that's absolutely fine. We'll match your wage, which meant I got bumped up a bit. So I'm like, right, that's what touch, done. Handed my notice in again, gutted I had to, but handed it in. They were brilliant in that school, really understanding. So worked my notice until Christmas. I think Sarah got the keys to the place we were renting in the November. I was still travelling up Friday, home Sunday, because I worked my notice to 21st of December. It was late that year. Got here on the 23rd. Because I didn't even drive, so I was relying on someone to give me a lift. They'd let me down, but got here in the end. Started my new job on the 5th of January or something early in January, and I was at that same school for the next 8 or 9 years. Yeah, I really enjoyed the school, but that's when I started to kind of come up against things I knew I didn't like and couldn't change, and tried to change and just kept getting kind of push back. I did everything I could to progress in getting myself into, because I thought I could be in a position to make changes and do things. And it wasn't until I'd done that or got to this place or completed this course, I realized actually I still can't do it. I might have got a bit higher up, but there's another wall there now that I've got to try and get over.
What like? Give me more detail on that, Jay. What were you coming up against? What did you want to do?
So my first thing was PE. Like, I was so frustrated with the PE, like and this had come from London. It wasn't just a Somerset thing. Like, it was the lack of PE. The teachers didn't enjoy teaching PE, so the lessons were And I did my PGC at Brunel, which is like a top sports college, like the uni, top. But my PGC, we spent an hour with a lady that came an hour in that whole PGC, 1 hour. So there's no wonder that teachers aren't equipped to deliver good PE lessons. So that was my first, I chucked myself into this PE, like, we need to improve PE. So I was like, right, I really want to get into this. Like, threw myself into loads of research, listening to loads of people, like podcasts and things like that, and listening and reading and doing all this stuff. And the head teacher was great. She was on board. She let me kind of implement different things at the school. So I was like, right, it's getting good now. And then there was just other things. I was like, right, okay. I taught every year group from 2 to 6. I'd had good experience in the classroom. I was confident kind of delivering, and with everything else, I really enjoyed working. I had a 2 years working with, they were still NQTs at the time, being their mentor. And I absolutely loved that. Loved working with teachers, because I used to love it, because they'd come in and they were told all this stuff that's kind of by the book stuff. And it'd be like, that's bull. Like, this is the reality of it. Because that's what I had. I had people like that. Was like, yeah, that's great, but actually, this is how it really works, sort of thing, if that makes sense. And I loved that. So I was like, right, I'd love to do some sort of training or consultancy job. Like, where do I go? What do I need to do to get into that sort of that role where I can work with others and develop them? And then someone said, oh, you can do a master's in education leadership. That's a great way to do it. And I remember thinking about a master's, and one of my heads saying to me, I'm a head teacher. I've been a head teacher for 12 years. I've never done a master's. You don't need one. So that put me off until obviously this reignited it. So I was like, right, okay, go and do it. 10 grand in debt. I am now, or whatever it was. It was 10 grand. Obviously all loans and stuff. Did my master's, and I actually really enjoyed the master's. Some of it was really good. It was hard, obviously. So I'm still working, got a busy home family life, but did it. It was at Exeter, online course. I think 2 and a bit years. But all the while, I'm speaking to the university, like, is this going to open doors in these areas? Yeah, brilliant. You'll be able to do this stuff. And like, once you've got a master's in education leadership, loads of doors will open. And then I slowly started to realize how difficult it was to get into the consultancy kind of roles, like really difficult, speaking to people, other people online, and just people that have done it or tried to do it, realize how hard it was. And that kind of died out a bit. And then we had a bit of a tragedy in our family. Sarah's sister was killed. She was killed by a partner, which threw a massive spanner in kind of life for us. And I remember, I think 3 weeks out of work, initially my head was like, take 3 weeks. And I went back thinking normality. But I remember being back at work thinking, like, I'm back, but why does everyone expect Sarah to go back to normal now? Like, what? This is not right. It's not right. And I remember having this kind of internal battle, like, what? Just because I think I need to go back for normality, Sarah shouldn't be expected to go back. Like, our whole world's just been torn apart. And I ended up just getting myself signed off because I wanted to be there. Sarah can't be expected to go back to normal life. What? Like, her best friend has just been murdered. Like, what? No. So I've got signed off. Obviously, it never goes away, that sort of event. But I've signed off for how long I got signed off, back into teaching again, just threw myself back into it. Still enjoying it at this point, but coming up against things like I didn't agree with the curriculum, was just the rigidness of it and the lack of the confident, constant, we have evidence for this, we need evidence for this, we've got to do this. And it's like, but I'd be things like the just little things like the I can't think of the word, but the observations. If I'm going into a classroom, I like a noisy classroom. If it's the right noise, I love that. I think that's great. The kids are talking. I love that. If it's the right sort of noise, I absolutely love it. But then someone else will observe a lesson and it's too noisy. I need it quiet. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but I'd hated that about observations and that sort of thing. And by now,
probably the criteria.
It's the word was in my head and it's just gone. It's
subjectiveness.
That's the word.
Yeah.
It's based on the person's own individual bias rather than a set of criteria.
And I hate that. I didn't like that, the subjectiveness of it. It's like, and even with Get Ofsted in, some of them were great, some of them weren't so great. But by now I'm middle leadership. I'm leading on a few subjects. And so I'm getting more into that sort of thing. I've been doing it a few years and it's just like, I don't like it. It's too rigid. Like, I remember somebody doing a lesson on, I don't know what it was. It was like a historic battle. And she took them out onto the field and they reenacted this battle, obviously not fighting, but reenacted this battle. Kids loved it, absolutely loved it. We did a bit of pupil voice after. They're all telling me about it. The person I'm observing with hated it because where's the evidence? So the evidence is talk to the kids. That they're going to remember that lesson over every lesson they've done this year. And I was constantly kind of coming up against those little things that were just building. And then, like I said, the rigidness, there's only so far you could take, and teachers being scared to take risks. And this was ingrained in me. Take risks as a teacher, take risks. If it fails, so what? But take a risk because it will benefit everybody. But watching people being petrified to take risks, or, oh no, I've never done it like that. It's like, well, you've done it like for 10 years. Like, let's mix it up a bit. But just the fear the fear in teachers to not tick that box, and how children were slowly becoming numbers, and it was all about data, and they celebrate the progress, not the data, the attainment, sorry. And it was just numbers in there. And then obviously throughout the years, there was more and more of SEN stuff, and all the other stuff that comes with teaching was becoming more and more evident, and how we were almost failing some of those kids. And I was seeing children from backgrounds like me, and they were having teachers that didn't get them. And I'm like, just stop being a teacher for a minute and be a human with that child. Like, they don't need a teacher now. They need someone, a human being, to talk to them on a level. And it was just all these small things building until I kind of completely became a bit disillusioned with it all.
But if you think about it, there were certain points in your story. You said a human being found me one day in a PE lesson and went, "You've got an arm, we'll sort it out." You then said, when you went into teaching, I actually loved the lesson observation because it gave me the freedom. Now, you use the expression to show off. I would go with the word showcase. I was able to showcase what I could do. So the bits where you were talking about what you love, all of that had been eroded into, I'm now feeling potentially how I used to feel before.
Yeah.
Before I found that sweet spot, which is I'm doing stuff and I don't know why I'm in this library. I don't know why they won't let me just enjoy the lesson. I don't know. You've hit blocks again where you are feeling in a cast in some respects, straitjacketed, not scaffolded. You've gone from a school where they said, where do you want to be? How can we support you getting you there? To being in a position where that question's not even been asked.
Yeah. And the school was great. The head teacher was really good. She pushed me from the get-go into all the MPQs that I wanted to do and all of the different kind of qualifications and additional work and stuff I wanted to do to develop. And she was always on board. If I went to her, I've got this idea, I've done a bit of research, especially around reading towards the end. Always on board. And it was just the system was like, it just felt, like you said, so rigid.
Do you think as well, going back to what you talked about with Sarah's sister, we had a guest on a couple of weeks before you, Jay, who lost a child. And Gareth Dale talked about losing a child and still working within teaching. And he talked about this reframe in his life. What's the point? When you've gone through something so traumatic, so catastrophic as what happened to your family unit. Because let's face it, you're in Somerset for that extended family, and the heart of it has been cruelly ripped away from you. Did you have that life-changing look through a different lens? This is bullshit kind of thing, because reality struck at home.
I'll tell you what I noticed then, and I'm sure there was lots of times throughout my life I probably could have noticed it, but that's when I really noticed it, is that, and it sounds a bit harsh, but it's true, nobody gives like, I remember me and Sarah walking, it must have been from a school run or whatever, and just looking around thinking, like, our whole world has just been turned upside down, and people are just, they don't know, but obviously they're going about their normal business, like how insignificant what's happened, what you are to just what life is. Life goes on, sort of thing around you, and it's like nobody gives a really. And I'd heard mumblings of kind of like gossip at work about things, and it was but at the end of the day, nobody cares. Like,
and with something like what you went through because of the circumstances of your sister-in-law's death, that doesn't just funeral, now we get on. I should imagine there was investigations, there was court cases. That's an overarching shadow that goes on in reality for a long, long time. So put that into a school when you're actually seeing pockets of what life should be like on the playground with the battle, because those kids will remember that day like you remembered the PE teacher day.
Yeah.
And you're then having to have a conversation where, not only have you got to grade what's going on there, imagine if somebody graded that PE teacher the day with you and went, you shouldn't have done that to that kid.
Yeah, and I was getting things like that in observations. And I still was, as much as I didn't care about an observation, because it was ingrained in me to use it as a platform. And it was always never put on an act because it's obvious. But just show, like you said, showcase. It was always ingrained in me, but I'd still always get pulled up. I remember at first it was always about, and I don't know if this is still in the criteria, but it was always proper standard English, because obviously the way I talk, there would always be a development point, every observation, to the point we'd end up laughing about it. But that was never, when I got to Somerset, that kind of stopped, which was nice. But I'd always get pulled up on things, but I think I'd always kind of give my reasons why I did that. And usually it's a discussion, depending, again, it's subjective to who's observing, but usually with a discussion. But I was coming up against that still, like, why did you do that? It's like, well, that child needed that. Oh, but where's the evidence? How are you going to evidence that? It's like, I don't give a shit about the evidence. That child needed to do their writing under the desk, or to do that bit of Lego under the desk, because they need that at that particular time. They don't need me to tell them. Because if you want me to force them to sit at a desk and write a story about something they don't give a shit about, they're going to end up throwing chairs about, and the whole class is gone then.
Here's the interesting thing. If we are to take education as it should be, there's an end point, and it's year 11. It's normally the third week in August when they get the GCSE results. We will never know what part of one lesson or one particular topic or what resulted in them getting that 6 or that 5 or that 4. But there's one thing that can guarantee, based upon your experience at school, we know why your national record of achievement counted for the square root of nothing. And it certainly wasn't a moment in a lesson observation. There's a bigger picture that sits, and you cannot do it in that one moment and that one lesson. It's nonsense. And I think the word nonsense and irrelevance feeds into people who've had tragic circumstances in their life. It's nonsense. It's like what you said, you're walking through the streets and somebody's arguing because the parking space has been taken, or someone's too long to try and find the money in the purse. This is nonsense. So how long was it before you started to think, based upon what happened with your family, based upon the changes and the straitjacketing was happening, how long was it before you thought, this is not for life?
I think after what happened with Sarah's sister, like I said, after a few months, got back in, and that was thing. Obviously, we had the COVID, but I was back in by then. So a good maybe another 5 years afterwards, I was still going, and then kind of, again, I got into year 6. That was kind of, I wanted to get into year 6. It was like, so I was in year 6 for the last kind of 3-4 years, because once you're in there, you almost get a bit stuck, don't you? But 3 or 4 years at the end. But I'd always had this thing, again, I still want to get into, I love working and doing, and training and supporting other staff. So this is when the MPQ started to become a thing. So I went and did the MPQ there was a CPD one I did, and a senior leadership one I did, and doing kind of loads of little bite-sized things, but around CPD, because I loved working and developing teachers. But obviously still really loved being in the classroom, and then all the other shit that comes with it now, like I said, all the data stuff, all the other stuff that comes with being a teacher now, was that just got worse and worse and worse. So I'm starting to think like, right, I don't think I can do it. I'm not enjoying it. I'm starting to lose a bit of love for the whole thing. Loved being in the classroom, loved working with other teachers, but overall, I'm just not enjoying it. I'm missing things with my own kids. That always frustrated me. And it was obviously, you can argue it's my own fault, because I had 4 kids. If I had 1 or 2, I might have been let out to go and see shows and things, but I can't pick and choose, so I couldn't ever do anything. If it was in the school hour, I could never do it. But these things were mounting up, and I was thinking, like, what do I do? I'm on all right money now. Be frank, I was on a decent wage. I think by now I'm on UPS 3, whatever it is, the top one. So I've hit that roof now. Let me go and look at deputy jobs, because maybe I can get there, and then I can start try and do these changes again, going back to that. So I started again. I went for some interviews, wasn't successful, really close in one, which at the time I was gutted about, because I just, really close in that. I did a bit of acting deputy at my current school, which again, I really enjoyed that, because it gave me the time to kind of work in smaller groups with kids and interventions, work with staff and developing staff, which is kind of really what at the time wanted to head to. But I couldn't seem to nail this deputy job to progress, because that's where I thought, right, let me do that. And then all the time, I'm kind of looking into that world. I'm speaking to deputies, I'm speaking to head teachers, and they're like, trust me, you're going to get here. And it almost gets a bit worse with the amount of barriers that are put up in front of you. So I'm thinking, well, what do I do then? Stuck. Like, I can't go sideways and leave the career and end up on this wage unless I get really lucky, because financially, as a family again, I can't afford to drop my money. So I'm almost in a bit of a trap. Even though I'm still not at the point where I'm not hating it. I love working with the kids still. But I just know, I've realised I'm not in this for the long run anymore. I'm just not. But trapped. And then I discovered the Life After Teaching group on
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Tell us how you found us. Go on, talk to us about that.
Yeah, someone mentioned it in the staff room, just like, have you seen this group? I know. So I've gone into it, like, because they're saying they must have read a post that was like something probably not like a negative experience. Like, so I've gone on there, had a look at what people are saying and doing. Obviously, you hear about the success stories, people that have left. So it's like, oh, so maybe there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And then you're hearing about obviously negative experiences, and then that's making me think, actually, maybe it's not so bad where I am, because some of these stories are shocking, like what's going on in their school, the way they're being treated. And then some of it, I'm like, it's not just me. This is happening. What I'm going through, so many people are. And then, I was a silent reader for a long time with that.
I think that's really interesting, Sarah, because I've never heard it captured as well from an outsider's point of our group. My school's not that bad. Oh my God, it could be so much worse. Oh, this is happening to me. This could be the writing on the wall. That was really insightful, wasn't it?
I know from people that refer other people into the group, I think there's a couple of entry points for our group. People come in because they know it's all happening and they're at the worst, or they come in and have that exact journey that you're talking about. Oh, I'm all right. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
There's my signal point.
Mm.
And I think that's why I love the group so much, because it serves so many in so many different ways. But yeah, what a beautiful way to articulate it. I'm okay. It could be worse. Oh, here we go. Off we go.
Yeah, and like I said, in the job I was at, the head teacher was kind of really supportive with me, kind of with progression and stuff. And I did realise actually, like I don't. It wasn't that I don't hate the school I'm in by a long way. I don't hate the profession. It's just the stuff. There'd been years of little things building up. I did hate that were just, like I said, maybe small things to other people, but to me it was just like I can't. This is not the way I want to do it. I want to go in, and I was always relationship before anything with my class and with the kids. It's about that relationship before I'm doing anything else. I want to get that kind of that technical, the buy-in that everyone talks about now. But I want the relationships there. I want them to know kind of that I'm a human before I'm a teacher. And then there was a few little things that delayed it. Like obviously I threw myself into reading, focusing on that and trying to improve reading. The book that I'm sure everyone's read, the final year, came out, and it was like, I remember I got that involved. We read that at school and did loads of work around that. And it was like, that was a bit of, I've loved this. This is something new. Finally, I've got something new in. But I think, although I say that, there was things that delayed. I think the coffin was well and truly kind of nailed shut by then. But it was just how. And then somebody I'd kind of known on and off through our children at school had mentioned, they'd been in FE for a while, and had mentioned a role at their company, but the money wasn't the same. So I said, I just can't. Like, I'd love to, I just can't. And then I think maybe even a year or so went past, and then it came back and was like, actually, salary wise, it made sense. But even then, I was talking myself out of it, because you got to think I'd worked so hard to get, and I was so proud to say I'm a teacher. I'd speak to people and they'd be like, how have you ended up a teacher? Like, if you met people that knew me as a kid and as a young adult, when I say it's a third of the thing you'd expect, it literally is.
Have you read the book Teach, Survive, Repeat by Mark Rickard? It is a blisteringly honest expose of life behind the staff room door. Far from the inspirational posters and recruitment campaigners, this unapologetic book dives into the harsh truths of modern teaching, where burnout, toxic leadership, and data-driven madness have replaced passion, purpose, and pedagogy. Through unflinching personal accounts and anonymised testimonies, Mark Rickard reveals the emotional toil, institutional failures, and systemic injustices that define the teaching profession in the UK. Part memoir, part manifesto, Teach, Survive, Repeat is both a survival guide and a wake-up call, a must-read for educators, policymakers, and anyone who still believes the system is working. Now available in paperback and ebook, and I've got it on my coffee table. I think, in fairness, Jay, like my generation, I talked to you about a 2.4 existence, but my parents' university was like, through your lens, that is what middle class people do. Doctors go to university. So for my parents to say, you know, oh, our daughters went to university and they're teachers, that badge of honour defines success. It absolutely captures an identity to say, I've done everything all right. To be able to sit there, Jay, and say, I am a father, I have sustained a relationship, I am in a long-term committed relationship with a wonderful, I have no doubt with, how many kids have you got?
4 now. I finally got the boy in my life.
4 children.
He's just turned 3, yeah.
Okay, you've got 4 kids, you've got a rock solid partner. I don't think it's going to be perfect. I should imagine it's chaos at the best of times. You're getting a parrot, that kind of thing. But let's look at who you are. You are the father figure that you only talked about an uncle. So, and that uncle was probably distant in many respects. You are a paternal figure at the heart of your family. You've totally broke that generational cycle. Part of it is hooked desperately into this identity of I am a teacher, that level of respectability, that just coming through that. The minute you leave teaching and you try to explain what you do beyond the classroom, and it's not just captured in one word, I'm a this and I'm that, and I sort of like do this in ethics, you lose the ease. And that's a lot of the reason why people stay in the classroom, to keep that identity. Because who am I if I'm not a teacher? So for you, more than most of our pit ponies, some of our pit ponies, Jay, that you won't have the added pressure of letting their parents down by leaving the classroom. What do you mean you're leaving? You've got a pension. You've got 6 weeks paid holiday over the summer. It can't have been easy for you to even consider losing all of those trappings that defined you. So it was really brave to even allow, particularly when it's seated in gratitude. I shouldn't have got to university. I shouldn't be a teacher. I shouldn't be in this classroom. Oh, and now I'm giving it all up because I'm not quite happy.
It was a real battle, and I talked myself out of it. And at the same time, I was going for another deputy job, and I'd had like an informal chat when you go and visit, and it was really, I had a great conversation with a teacher, and I was really positive about it. So I had that thinking, what if I've been working the last 2-3 years to get to the deputy, even though I'd realised actually it's not going to fix things, but I just thought actually, so I'd had that, and obviously the whole, what you've just said about being a teacher was in my mind. Sarah, as much as Sarah was like, go, like, you do what you want to do, we was obviously both worried about, I'd always been there for all the holidays with the kids, that potentially not being there, and there was all of this thing, and I'd thankfully they held out for me, and they didn't just say, oh, what, you're taking a piss now, we need a yes or no. They held out for me, because I made the jump, but thankfully they held out when I was because I was messing them about, if we're being honest. I'm in an RN, and actually, they didn't have to do that. But making that jump was, a big gamble. But honestly, it is one of the best decisions I've ever made.
So what is it you do exactly? Because we've lost that. We've lost the ease with which you can just say, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Where is it you're working? What is it you're now actually doing, Jay?
Yeah, like I said, I still struggle myself, but it's in it's in further education, and we are a remote apprenticeship provider. So it's business leadership and coaching apprenticeships, and I am the curriculum innovation manager. So obviously making sure the curriculum is as good as it can be. Starting to work a bit more with the delivery, which is obviously passionate. I'm really passionate about that. Remote delivery is a whole nother ball game. Like, put me in a room with however many people faces there, not an issue, but put me on a screen with all these little boxes, that's a whole new world. But so looking into that kind of, and this is like a little, again, I've thrown myself into the research around remote pedagogy, which is, there's not much of it. So it's opening up into that area as well. But yeah, so it's a remote apprenticeship provider, and just loving it. It's honestly, like I said, the best thing I ever done.
Isn't it interesting, the full circle?
Yeah.
Of you ending back in apprenticeship education when you yourself were not supported in your apprenticeship and being able to, wow.
Well, when they said it, apprenticeships in my mind is bricklayer, carpenter, plumber. It wasn't what you can go to get an apprenticeship in business leadership or team leader or coaching. What are you talking about? In my mind, it was the trades. But I mean, it's the same principles. You still build a portfolio. It's all work-based evidence. But yeah, like I said, it's just, and maybe I'm just lucky because I'm with a great company, but the freedom, the trust, all the stuff I was yearning for and trying to get, I've kind of got now, which is, and like I said, best decision I ever made.
Hello, loyal listeners. It's that time in the episode when me and Sarah put out our little begging bowl and ask you to help fund our podcast, because it's coming out of our pockets. And our kids have been living on beans on toast for months while we've been messing about pretending we're live on Loose Women. There's going to be a link in the episode notes, and it's called Buy Us a Coffee. This is your chance to help fund the podcast, give a little something back. Thank you. Have you ever listened at great depth to Stephen Bartlett and his story, where he came from? Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO?
Yes, I've not listened to his story, but I've listened to some of his podcasts.
Yeah, you need to listen to some of the work he does and sits around. And Ramesh Ranganathan, people who have not had the easiest of starts. So if you listen to Stephen Bartlett, he should not be where he is today. And he is absolutely obsessed with understanding what it is about an individual who, given their deck of cards early on in life, should absolutely not be where they are today. And I think that's a really, I'd like you to go down that rabbit hole and really work out what it is about somebody like you who breaks the generational set of behaviours, who is the local boy come good, who said, crime or football?
That was it. Yeah.
Is it circumstances? Was it the fact that bouncer plotched that your mate one night? I believe Sarah would have found you at some different. It just happened to be that night.
Yeah.
I think who you are as a person, your wheelchair, your cast, all of those things that happened to you, really look into what it was that. And I don't think it's one thing.
No.
I don't think it's one thing. But it's been fascinating to listen to it. Tell me what you like as a dad.
I try. And I read something the other day, a quote, I can't remember who it was from. It says, forgive your parents, they were still learning. So as much as a parent, you beat yourself up all the time, don't you? My two eldest my eldest, she's been diagnosed with ADHD and autism, but more inwardly. So on the surface, you wouldn't particularly notice, but she struggles in friendship groups because as for a kid, she's just being annoying. Or for anyone that meets her, after a while, it's like you might find it too much. So she struggles. My youngest is more outwardly. We've always thought she's just a bit of a wild in everything, up every tree, over every fence. So we're still learning, but you beat yourself up as a parent all the time. What am I doing? Am I doing good? But ultimately, me and Sarah, they're nice children. And that's what we want. Be nice children. They're not particularly academic, but my thing is do your best. As long as you can come out of that lesson, that day, that whatever it is, and say, right, I've done as good as I can do. As all I ask for. Be nice people, do your best, and touch wood. I think all four of them, that will kind of be ingrained in them. But I try. I think now I'm around a lot more, and I try my best with it. And it's.
But Jay, it's what you were talking about in the early days. It's role modeling. Kids don't listen to a single thing we say, but they watch and copy everything we do.
Yeah.
That's it. They watch and they copy. And they've not seen a dad who's stuck at a job for life and it's made him miserable. They've seen a dad who's changed, who's learned, who's kept lifelong learning going. I wanted to do a master's. I did this. I read about this. I schooled myself on this. I should imagine they've got an equally but different role model with their mum. So look at the family that you've got now. Okay, so with that in mind, we talked about sliding doors moments, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. And I always leave that spat with our guests, what would be your slide? And they talk to begin with, don't they? Well, this has changed and that's changed since I left teaching. Walk us through sliding doors for you, Jay.
I think I've been thinking about this a lot, and there's been lots just simple doing the school runs, being there to help Sarah in the mornings. Like I'd get the text message on my at playtime. this morning was a nightmare, but now being there and experiencing it, now I appreciate even more what she'd done on her own. But small things like that, being there, being able to do the food shop with Sarah. We go on a Monday. We go do the food shop. Things people probably hate, but I've never had the chance to do it. I think the biggest one so far, and remember, I'm only just over 6 months out, was being able to go to sports day, like seeing them, see me. So we hadn't told them, and I'd never been. I'd missed them all because I was always riding out on my own sports day at school, and because obviously having 3 children in school, my head teacher couldn't give me 3 separate days out. But yeah, being there, seeing their face, watching them win races and take part, and them seeing me and just soaking all of that in. And I remember just taking a second, just standing on the field thinking like, this was beyond me. I've never been able to do this, and just trying, really going into that, trying to soak it up. And this is tiny things to Sarah. She's done it so many times. It's like, sports day. But for me, it was like trying to soak everything up. Because I remember once my mum coming to one sports day, but her being there for me was like massive. She just watched me do it. It was a tug of war. That was the only one I was allowed to do. But yeah, them being able to, obviously me be there, and for me seeing them, because it's always, you hear the stories, I won, or I come second, or I come third, or this happened. It's never the same. But being there, that's the biggest one at the moment. I think being there in general is the overarching thing, just being more present. I always tried to be present as much as possible, but actually physically being present on all of these different things now is my big sliding doors, because it's something I've just missed, and you just don't really. Well, I think that gets missed a bit with teachers. People don't understand how much of their own family and things they miss. And I was always brilliant because it was ingrained in me from that first mentor that I didn't like, because she made me do things like this, not to take work home. So I was always good at getting my work done. If I needed to work through lunch or whatever it was, or stay a bit, not taking work home, not working late. So I always had that kind of nailed down, but I'd still miss so much. Or I'd get home and you're knackered. Sundays were ruined because you were fearing Monday. Now Sunday is a great day. I love a Sunday. But all of these little things that people don't realise with teaching, they miss out on so much of their own family. That dread, that Sunday dread, the end of half term, that it's almost a write-off. For some teachers, you'd go back and they've spent the whole time marking. It's like, well, you've not had a break then. Like,
And life is what happens while you're making plans. It passes you by. Yeah. Do you know what, Jay? It's been a really special episode for me, this. And Sarah and I will obviously talk about you behind your back when you go. So I don't want to go into too much of what I'm going to say about you. But I think it would be fair to say that absolute respect. I have loved your story. I've loved your ability to tell it. You've been captivating, the energy surrounding you, your drive, and who you are as a person, to me, is the very, very best of us. And it's been an absolute privilege to hold space for you today. And I will listen to this episode on many, many occasions to come. So, Jay, on behalf of myself and Sarah and our listeners, I just want to say thank you. And you didn't drop a C-bomb, which was my biggest fire the way you did it.
No, I didn't. I try not to. But no, everything. Thank you. It's made me want to talk about it more, to be honest. I could be all day.
That's a story. If ever you needed to inspire young people, you should be the guest in the assembly talking to kids in the school you went.
Yeah, maybe it's so early to look at, but I'd love to.
What's meant for you in your life will not pass you by, because you've been exactly where you've needed to be at the right time. So I have no doubt it will come to you. Jay, I just want to say thank you and all the best with the parrots.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Right, before we start our epilogue, Sarah, I'm sure this is something you'll want to do as well. When we got off from Jay, because you and I have been ex-heads of year and that kind of thing, and have organised assemblies in school, if I was listening to this and I was still working in a school, I would want that guy in an assembly speaking. 100%, right? He hasn't got a polished assembly. He hasn't got a brand. He hasn't got something that goes into schools and does workshops. But I know that's something he's keen to do. So in the first instance, if you're listening to this podcast and you have resonated, A, either with Jay's story, or B, know there are kids in your alternative provision, in your organisation, in your workplace that would benefit from anything Jay can do, find his details, connect with him. We'll put them in the show notes. And definitely let's get that guy on the path of telling his story. And Sarah, what a story.
I know. It's so interesting when you listen to somebody who then you reflect back and go, God, he would have been brilliant to talk to some of my kids. And I'd even go so far as to say that actually he'd be somebody that I would want to come in and work with, like groups of kids rather than necessarily an assembly. And I think he could land in so many places. It's like teacher training and SEN support. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, completely agree with you on that. But for somebody to go through what he went through as a child and then to come out of the education system with the sum total of nothing, to then go on and achieve everything that he's achieved personally, professionally, I know I would have loved working with him as a colleague. I absolutely would have done, because he was about the kids and he was about supporting staff as well. Yeah, I think he's amazing.
There was nothing when he talked that, I don't know, in a sense with me, I thought, yeah, and I bet you were a nightmare to manage. I bet you never marked your books. I bet you never kept your head shut in a staff meeting. I never got that impression that there was any edge to him at all. He was just a hard worker. He wanted the best for the kids. Every single person he spoke about along his path, he spoke about with respect. He didn't blame, he didn't point fingers. His has been quite an unusual route, really. And even after the call, spoke with great love of his mum, of the people in his life. Just a really great human being who amplified for me the lunacy of some of our systems. Number one, how we were failing kids in the 90s and the noughties. Number two, even as a teacher with a family, is told by Citizens Advice or the department, DWP, go unemployed. He shouldn't be where he is today, that guy.
No. As you absolutely look at the track of what his life circumstances have been, and he absolutely should not be where he is if you pan it out on the traditional lines. I think for me it was interesting to go back to his timeline as a student, for us as teachers who started around that period of time, and to really reflect. And I think back to my first couple of schools. So I did one school for a year, and then I did another school for 8. And those schools were not physically set up for kids who had any physical. My second school was on 2 sites. Excuse me. Well, not 2 sites, but it was on 1 site, but 2 buildings, and they were a 3-minute walk. So we had a 5-minute changeover in lessons. There was no lifts. It was on ground floor, first floor, second floor. So you could not have reasonably accommodated a child in those circumstances.
And also, it was the days, Sarah, of those who shouted the loudest. He was not a problematic kid. Yeah, he was running around, he was getting in a few fights. But he was in a school where kids would have behaved way worse than him. So he slipped through the cracks because he was compliant enough not to become one of those kids that was the name that was mentioned in every staff briefing, that had an army of TAs around them, that was being housed in an environment that wasn't fit for them. I just really, really liked him, and I liked his energy, and I liked his passion really for life. And it was a great episode. It really was. And it brought in apprenticeships as well. And as you know, our Jamie's doing an apprenticeship and that kind of thing. We are doing things differently. It doesn't have to be a one size fits all anymore. And I just thought, yeah, I hope people listen to that. And more than anything, fell in love with the guest as much as the story, because he was a really great guy. So yeah, just another great episode. And what I would say to you is, anybody out there who's got any ideas for Jay? We've got so many people who've now in charity organisations, they're in foundations, they're working in a whole host of different things. I think he'd be a great podcast guest for people. So any ideas of how to get Jay on the map and his story, I think get your thinking caps on, listeners, and let's get that guy in front of more people in any way we can.
Absolutely agree.
How's that sound for you, Sarah?
Absolutely agree. He deserves to be heard, but also he'd be great. And I'm going to say something really contentious. The number of times that I've experienced people coming into schools and the message has been right, but the
Delivery.
the presence, the delivery hasn't. I think that's for me is where, and he apologised afterwards, didn't he? Like, oh, I'm sorry if it was rambling. No, you were telling the story, and storytelling is so important when you are trying to connect with other people and particularly with kids. They want the story.
Yeah.
They need to know the background. So yeah, anything we can do. I think he's put himself onto LinkedIn now, so I'll get his LinkedIn from him. But if not, he'll be searchable. Or if not, get in touch with us and we'll pass stuff on. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. Perfect. All right then, friend. Let's crack on with our day, because what date is it? Day 21st of June. Yeah, we were promised a heat wave.
22nd, yeah.
22nd of June, we were promised a heat wave. It's now sheeting down with rain and blowing gales. So we've been robbed. We've had 3 days of our summer so far. So hopefully you're listening to this in a couple of weeks in glorious sunshine. Okie dokie. See you on the other side, pal.
Trap.
Thanks for staying with us during another great episode of the Pit Pony podcast. And on behalf of myself, Sarah Dunwood, Mike Roberts at Making Digital Real, we wish you all the very best, and we'll see you soon. If you wish to contact me directly for a support session or a clarity call for your next steps, please find my link in the comments below. See you soon.